Gonna move into Matt's meanders, mumblings, wherein Matt meanders and mumbles. So what I want to talk about is changing original works later on. And that's very vague, so I'll try to explain it better.
Okay.
I have in my hands here this copy of The Hobbit with the first edition cover. So this is like the facsimile first edition, which I've been looking for a long time and actually got it as a Christmas gift. So that was awesome. It's fucking beautiful. I love this cover. I've never been able to find it. And it's like paper. So they really went for like to try to replicate what having one of the first editions would be like. Now, the difference and the cool thing about this book as well is that this the words on the page inside are the same as they were in the first edition. So there is no mention of Middle Earth. There's no mention of I don't know, Rohan, all those things like that. That would later tie the Hobbit into the Middle Earth universe and the Lord of the Rings story. All those things are absent from this version of the book, which I haven't read yet, but I thought it was cool that like you can still get this, and they sell this as a product.
Mm-hmm.
And as we all know, I'm a big fan of Star Wars, and the original 1977, 1983, and 1980 editions of Star Wars are very hard to find. I have mine on VHS, but up until 19, I think 97 is when the special editions of Star Wars came out. The Star Wars movies change almost every time they're re-released. They make tweaks to the CGI. There's added scenes that are now in the official version of the movie that weren't previously. One that comes to mind is in the original Star Wars Episode 4. There's a scene where outside of the Millennium Falcon, Han encounters Jabba the Hutt. Well, at the time they shot the movie, Jabba the Hutt was not yet a giant space slug. He was just a man. And it's a very awkward scene with a man in this very terrible costume. And he's having a conversation with Han. But if you've seen the movies recently, you'd know like they CGI a space slug into there, and the scene feels very disjointed and weird. And I don't know. And then there's obviously like I think one of the most controversial changes to Star Wars is when spoilers, Luke finds out that Darth Vader is his father. He jumps off of Bespin Cloud City, and Vader goes no, which was not in the original version of the movie, and it's terrible. And it's the same no that he uses at the end of Episode 3, where he's still sort of Anakin, but he's not anymore. That was 20 years ago, 23 years ago. So I hate it. I think it's a stupid choice. And for me, like George Lucas has always gone back and made changes to Star Wars. And I think at a certain time as a creator, you just have to let go. And what it is what it was. And it was great at the time. And some of the changes are actually really good. You know, they changed Boba Fett's voice to Tamora Morrison. So it falls in line with all that we know about clones. And, you know, as he portrayed Jango Fett, he's now the voice for all the clones and for Boba Fett. So like that's a cool thing, but is it necessary? Maybe not. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to how you guys feel about this. I guess more modern examples might be like something like the Snyder cut of Justice League. Infinitely better movie than the theatrical release. And so there is an issue here as well as like studio interference. And so maybe the version we got initially wasn't the creator's intended release. And so now that they have the ability to change it, you know, free will to you. But, you know, I feel like when it's the creator going back and being like, oh, well, actually, I meant to do this. I just didn't have the budget or whatever the case is. Like Ridley Scott with Blade Runner.
Yeah.
There's fucking like 7 versions of that movie. And like, and now when people ask me like, should I watch this before 2049? I got to be like, yes, but you have to get the final cut, not the director's cut or the fucking whatever cut, because it's different. And I don't know. And, you know, when you get a movie now on Blu-ray, it's like the extended director's something cut, and it's not. But, you know, it's like I can't even, like for Batman vs Superman, it was called like the Justice Cut or something. I can't remember, but I don't know. How do you guys feel about changing the original work later on in a retrospective way?
I've never been like a huge fan of a franchise that's done this. Like I know Blade Runner did it. I've only seen like one version of the original Blade Runner. Star Wars, I've never even seen. Like, I don't even remember which cut I've seen of Star Wars. I couldn't even tell you. Um, and even like Lord of the Rings has like the extended editions, which is like I had only seen the extended cuts, and then once I saw it on Netflix, I was like, oh, the Return of the King's on Netflix. I'm going to watch it. And it was the theatrical cut that was like 2.5 hours. It's like actually unwatchable.
Oh man, so I'm not sure about Return of the King, but the theatrical release of The Two Towers was my favorite Lord of the Rings movie, and like I knew it from front to back because I used to like just put it on every Saturday morning or whatever when I was younger. And so watching the special edition, I'm always like, oh man, they started from here. Like, what's going on? Like, and it's way more like the books. Like, I remember reading the books like a couple years back, and being like, okay, so they split up from each other at Amon Hen, right? And then I'm like, okay, well, the book's about to end. And then it went on for like 5 more chapters. And I was like, yo, what the fuck? They don't start this till the next book. But obviously it's different. But I was like shocked that it wasn't, you know. And so I have a tough time actually watching the Lord of the Rings extended editions because I'm like, I like all the added scenes, but I'm like, it feels less cohesive, if that makes sense.
Really, I felt like the exact opposite watching the theatrical cut of The Return of the King.
Mm-hmm.
It felt so like slapped together after like I was like,
wow.
oh, where'd the scene go? I can't like trying to remember like the specific scenes, but it's like I'm just watching and it just jumps to a completely new set of characters when I know there's supposed to be a scene there, and I was like,
Yeah.
like this is what's happening? Why is this movie so short?
What
So
about you, Will?
in that sense, I don't like it, or I do like it.
It depends, really. I prefer it with older movies, mostly just because I like having like the updated, I guess, visuals as well as sounds.
Yeah, I think that's sort of like, I think that's like a different thing. Like, I wouldn't mind if they re-release Star Wars every fucking year, like they do, and do Steelbook cover or whatever the fucking case. But and it just had like updated CGI and graphics. I'd have no problem. Like HD 4K versions,
Yeah,
fucking fire away. But the scenes are literally different now. There's added things in them. Like it's just different.
I don't know, because well, I think like in the case of extended cuts, because I think those are just filmed at the time of filming.
Right.
I don't know, because like Star Wars is pretty divisive, to be honest. Like, it never really bothered me as much as like, other than like that like corny scene when they go into Mos Eisley for the first time. You see that like CGI'd freak monster, like
Exactly. Yeah.
just walking across screen and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like,
yeah.
Like certain, I don't know. So like I watched like a few, I guess, like movies that would be considered like classics that were like redone
Mhm.
like a few years ago, and like they were like movies from like the 60s and 70s, and like I couldn't even tell the difference. Like they looked like really good.
Yeah.
Example would be, because like I watched like Apocalypse Now the other day, and like the redo edition is like, it's longer, but it's like updated and just, yeah, like it looks like a movie that came out only a few years ago.
Mm.
But I don't know, I guess if you're going to change stuff retroactively, I guess I would probably side with the creator, because I think it's just, if you have the IP, then it's just do whatever you want.
Yeah, I guess. But like, okay, so say it's like music, right? Because this has happened to me where
Greedo shot first.
okay, that's what am I talking? That is the most unforgivable one, right? Let's talk about this. So
Hanno's
Luca,
defending himself.
Luca, I don't know if you're aware of this. Are you aware of Greedo and Han Solo, that scene?
I am aware that it's been changed.
Okay, so this is the most egregious one. Fuck what I said about Darth Vader. That I can live with that. But in the original movie, Han shoots Greedo because he knows Greedo will shoot him, but he shoots him first. There's no like, and he's a scumbag, and that's what he would do, and that's fine because he redeems himself by the end of the movie. And Greedo's working for Jabba; he's a criminal, you know. But that's literally the character of Han, is someone who would shoot first to save his own skin.
Mm-hmm.
That's who he is. So in the special edition, they edited in this weird scene where Han's neck twists to the side as he dodges Greedo's bullet, and then he shoots him. It's like so jarring and fucking like why? Like because they didn't want Han to be regarded as like a bad guy who shoots first.
He's defending himself.
He's defending himself a split second after doing the weird
dodge
thing.
a plasma bolt.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember like what I've seen then, because to me, like when I'm remembering that scene, it's like he just shoots him.
yeah.
I
So
don't
you
remember like I
you
feel like
probably
I've
watched these on
that's OG,
VHS when you
yeah.
were younger, right?
Pre-97, yeah.
Yeah.
no,
No.
I don't think so. So maybe
Yeah.
I did see the neck thing then.
You've
I don't know.
you've
It's
seen a
been
modern-
so long since I've seen New Hope.
If you've watched it on a disc, you've
Yeah.
seen the neck thing.
Okay, then
And
yeah,
so
for
with
sure.
subsequent releases, the neck thing gets less jarring. But the first like 1997 special edition release of it, it's fucking bad. Like it's real bad. Yeah, I don't, and yes, that's the most egregious because not only is it you put in this shitty scene with this bad CGI into the movie, but you also changed the character of Han.
Mhm.
He's no longer a scumbag. You've made him some, smuggler with a heart of gold instead of a scumbag with a heart of gold. It's a different thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's unforgivable in my opinion. But I was gonna say, like, with music, I've had it where like an artist puts out a mixtape and maybe they don't get a sample cleared or whatever the case is. So then they release another version of the song and it's an inferior version of the song, in my opinion. I'm just used to the old one and I don't
Hurricane.
like the new. And so like now I'm like, I don't even like this song anymore because I can't hear the original version of it, which was, in my opinion, superior. And so I wish they never changed it or they paid for the sample or whatever the case is. But I don't know. It's weird to like release something and be like, I'm putting this out into the world, and they'll be like, wait, I'm putting this out into the world. Like, you know what I mean? It's weird. So I guess my big thing is like, I love that this exists because if I want to read The Hobbit how it originally came out, I can, or I can read the updated release of it. But with Star Wars, you can't. Like, they don't release side by side Star Wars in original cut with the new version.
No,
They
I don't even
only
think
tell
they
you the new
aired
version.
it. I don't even think they like air it on TV.
No.
and stuff
If it
anymore.
plays on, and TNT has the TV rights for it, if it plays on there, it's the new version. It's the
Mhm.
newest version. And I think within the contract that Disney released, like, they're not allowed to sell the old version. That was, I think, like one of the things George was like, "Oh, no, you can't sell it, But I don't know. I hate that. I hate that I have to buy a fucking VCR player to watch how Star Wars originally came out. Like, that shouldn't be the fucking case. You know what I mean?
Was it
Uh,
me?
And from that perspective, I agree. Like, if you're creating something and you put it out, like you made it, just like it's kind of
Yeah.
too late. Like it should be too late to edit it and to
Yes.
change it. Like you can't just re-release something being like, this is
And-
how I meant to do it.
and this is before like the internet or like
Mhm.
the expansion of the internet to a place where like I can delete this from the internet. It's gone. If you had it saved on your phone, it's now gone. You have to listen to the new version. This is just a guy who was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe people will care about VCRs one day. He was right, but fucking, like he just changed it and was like, yeah, you can't get the older versions. This is all that's left. It's just so like that's what I saw in the theater. Yeah, I want that experience back. Not me personally, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I grew up watching these VCR versions of the movie, and I would like to see those again, but I can't unless I go out and find a VCR, which maybe is reasonable. But if you're gonna update the movie, like just update the movie, don't change it.
Mhm. Yeah, and that in that sense, I guess like Lord of the Rings Extended Edition isn't really that same situation because
Not at all, I don't think.
it's just adding scenes to the
Yeah.
original movie. All the original scenes are still there, whereas like this is changing the actual things that happened.
Yeah, and you can still go out and get, like, Netflix has the extended editions and the regular editions. And if you go out to buy Lord of the Rings, it comes with both.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So you can watch it how you saw it in the theater, and you can watch the extended versions, and you can watch the new 4K version of both of those things. But with Star Wars, it's like that's just gone, and you're never gonna get it back. And if your VCR fucks your things up, it's over for you. It's just so weird. Like,
It's like
yeah, I don't know.
when I want to go back and play OG vanilla Skyrim on PS3.
But like you could do that, right? You could turn off your PS3 and not get any of the updates and whatever. You can do that.
You have to bring in Skyrim somehow.
Yeah. Anyways, that'll do it for this rant of mine. Jeez, what a way. Will, what do you got for us this week?
Hold on though. What about like just like on the topic of Skyrim, what about just like remasters for video games and stuff like that, where it's like changed to meet the updated, I guess,
okay, well that's that's a pretty good chink in my armor there. Because
but there's something about video games, like the interactivity of a video game, that makes like a different sort of like it seems more okay to add missions or change the story of a video game rather than like a movie or a book where like you're only reading the story, whereas a video game, it's like a broader world, and even if they add things, they rarely change like the core of the game. Like they might add an ending or two, but doesn't sort of change it, especially if there's like 4 or 5 endings to a game.
Yeah. And I think like maybe Skyrim for me wouldn't be the best example, but just look at like all the things, all the MMORPG games that exist where people have been like clamoring for years. We just want it to go back to the way it was. And then the company, like say RuneScape, right? RuneScape Classic is, tenfold more successful than RuneScape. The updated version of RuneScape that has everything that someone playing it back then would want. And like you could play in, 3D or whatever. I guess MapleStory's more, that's a like a monumental thing, but for RuneScape, it's like the graphics are insane. Like you have way more options, blah 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 blah. But people just like, I just want to go back to killing goblins and those sounds. Like I just want that nostalgia kind of thing, and it's way more successful. Like, but for like Skyrim, I feel like just being in Skyrim is the nostalgia enough. Like the actual gameplay of it hasn't changed enough where you're like, this doesn't feel right.
Taxing.
Yeah, it's soul draining enough that it feels familiar.
Yeah. It reminds me of my pain.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about video games, Will? Like, is that something that would upset you if you got like a re-release of a game from PS2 and it's now being remade to PS4 and it's different? Or do you just accept that?
Different, I guess, if they changed I guess like some of the story elements, I would probably be kind of rattled.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Mass Effect 3 dropped, that was like a big thing, was the ending, because it was just like, what the fuck. Yeah, because they kind of BioWare kind of did something similar, so I'd be pretty, I guess like, well, like I wouldn't be like actually upset, but I'd be like annoyed because like,
yeah,
you put that much time or whatever into it, and then it's just like if you're like reading a book, then somebody rips out a bunch of pages and changes it up, I'd be a little bit rattled.
It just goes from
like,
type to just like someone's chicken scratch.
Yeah. Just write my own story in. But I don't know. But like I said earlier, at the same time, it's kind of like if I was George Lucas, I would want to be like the
You could definitely do a convincing cosplay.
I need my glasses somewhere.
Give us your best George Lucas impression.
I don't know how to do his voice. I don't think I've actually ever heard his voice.
It's very like subdued.
But like, yeah, I don't know. Like if I was the one who created Star Wars, I'd probably like want to be the overarching voice on it.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still wild to me that he sold it to Disney, but yeah.
4 billion big bucks.
Was it 4 billion?
I feel like he could have got more, honestly.
Maybe he donated most of it to charity, and they have since made that 4 billion back on Star Wars, so it worked out for everybody.
Yeah, but I feel like after a certain point, it just becomes all completely made up. So
it all is.
It is made up. It's
yeah. I feel like if it just caps at like 30 million, anything over the 30 million just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, not to me, man. Over $30 is
100 bajillion dollars.
yeah,
Yeah, I still think he could have sold it for more.
probably.
Yeah, that's my wondering why. Why didn't George Lucas try and stretch the dollar? Who let this man bargain? Yeah. Hold on. Where's Mac West?
Probably like 4 billion. You know.
We offered him more. He just turned it down. No, there's no way Star Wars will be successful.
And I could go on about this, but yeah.
I don't know. I'm still like, I'll be honest, like deep down, I just stopped caring about Star Wars the day that like the entire expanded universe was deleted.
Oh, I can't
So.
disagree more, but that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just whack.
Yeah, that expanded universe was a goddamn mess.
True.
And it's not deleted. You can still buy those books. See, here's another thing where they said none of that's canon, none of that actually happened in our current storyline. But those books still exist and they're good books. Like I've read some of them and they're good. They just they're not part of this story. They exist in a different universe. But you can still go to Chapters or whichever bookstore you feel like supporting. And you can still buy Legends novels there.
True. It's still like, I think it's kind of like wild that they reprinted it as well, like where it says Legends on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like it would take an insane amount of effort. But yeah. Oh, rest in peace, Republic Commando.
No, see, that is canon.
Yeah, but it's like a twisted, upsetting version of it.
Oh, I don't know if that's true. Shout out Gregor.
Yeah, I don't even know who Gregor is.
Well, then watch Clone Wars. Yeah, what are you wondering today?
So speaking on the topic of Vidya and The Witcher, I've been ripping The Witcher quite heavily, The Witcher 3. One of the things that I actually really, really like about it is that it's